Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Episode 76 is on your screen. You're watching the best sports show out, Highly Opinionated. I'm your co-host, Josh. Ladies and gentlemen, my guy, the best co-host in the game, the host of the Club JG podcast, co-host here on Highly Opinionated, my guy, JG. What's up, brother? How you doing, man?
What up, Jay? How everything going, bro?
I am good, man. Everything is good. Great time for sports. You know that. We got March Madness. You get the NBA warming, heating up, getting closer to the NBA playoffs. You have college football news and transactions going along with that. NFL. So great time for sports, man.
Always is, bro. Always.
Always is. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you guys for watching episode 75. We want to thank the great Coach Russell for coming on last week. Amazing interview, great experience. Coach Russell, we wish you nothing but the best as we do every guest that we had on the show. You guys make the show. So forever grateful, forever thankful. Again, without you guys' support, Highly Opinionated will be absolutely nothing. Usually when we start the show, you guys see the most important guy here on the show, editor, producer, director, extraordinaire, Ross. Ross is not on. Ross be behind the scenes this week. We wish Ross nothing but the best. Can't wait to have him back on the show next week. Ladies and gentlemen, again, we thank you guys for liking, following, subscribing. Highly Opinionated. You can like, follow, subscribe us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. We're everywhere. You can subscribe to us on YouTube as well. We're everywhere again. So we're not hard to find. We have a take, we have opinions that you guys don't like. This is the place for you. You love sports and you want your opinions out there. This is the place for you. If you have a platform, you have anything that you want to promote, this is the place for you. So we welcome all, we embrace all. Black, white, Democrat, Republican, gay, straight, binary, non-binary. We really don't care. You have good conversation, this is the place for you. JG, my brother, ready to get episode 76 started.
Yes, sir. Let's go.
Let's go. Let's get to work. Let's start off with the NFL offseason, NFL news. Start off with a signing that happened a little while ago. We never touched it, never had a chance to touch it on the show. Running back Travis Etienne signed a 4-year, $48 million deal with the New Orleans Saints. Your thoughts on Travis Etienne leaving Jacksonville and joining the New Orleans Saints?
Well, funny story. We actually just learned, about how to actually pronounce Travis Etienne's last name recently. I guess it's Travis Etienne now. That's another story for another day. We didn't know that for the first 5-6 years of his career, but I digress. This is a bad loss for the Jacksonville Jaguars. They are a team, in my opinion, that is not winning free agency right now. They're putting a lot of faith in Travis Hunter and Jacoby Myers and Brian Thomas Jr. for the moment. But the running game, I'm not sure what the Jacksonville running game is going to look like without Travis Etienne being there anymore. And for New Orleans, they're showing that they have faith in their young quarterback, Tyler Shuck, a guy I wasn't very high on, coming into the draft last year and really for the season, but he showed consistency, something that they were sorely lacking at the quarterback position in New Orleans. Going with Spencer Rattler, going with different guys, Derek Carr at one time, and now Tyler Shuck. They've seen enough where they believe in this guy, and they also understand that their aging running back Alvin Kamara, his best years are behind him at this point. All-time great running back. For the franchise. Definitely beloved there. He didn't want to leave. He wanted to stay in New Orleans and finish his career. I think the Saints were trying to explore trading him, but he wanted to stay. That possibility is still not out of the woods just yet. But getting Travis Etienne bolsters that running back room and takes load off of Alvin Kamara, especially at this point in his career. So, good signing from New Orleans, but to me, this is more of a bad loss for the Jacksonville Jaguars letting him go.
How you pronounce Travis' last name again?
He pronounces it Travis Etienne, kind of like Devon Etienne.
Travis Etienne. That's his name, Travis. Yeah. Okay,
like
Travis Etienne. Excuse me. I'm sorry, Travis Etienne. So I love the move for the Saints. You know how I feel about Tyler Shuck up to this date. Now this is subject to change because there's no football this week, next week. There's no real football until September. But up to this date, Tyler Shuck was the best quarterback out of the rookie class last season. To me, better than Jackson Dart, better than I feel like I'm missing somebody else. Cam Ward, thank you. Better than those two. So now, do I think Jackson Dart can be better? Yes. John Harbaugh, Matt Nagy with that staff. I think Cam Ward has a chance to be very good with Brian Daboll as his offensive coordinator. But up to this point, Tyler Shuck has been the best quarterback. I love this move for the Saints. Travis Etienne can catch the ball. He can run the ball. We saw that at Clemson. We saw that in Jacksonville. You know, it's a fun fact. He's since like high school, he's always played with Trevor Lawrence.
Yep.
So this will be the first time that he'll have a different quarterback in his huddle. So
and he's from the area.
Say it again.
And he's a home kid. He's actually from Louisiana. So this
he's going back home, going back home, going to the home team, the New Orleans Saints. I love it for the Saints. And if you look at the Saints free agency moves, I like what they've done. They signed Noah Fant. They signed the offensive lineman Edwards. They signed the linebacker as well. So I think the NFC South is more wide open than what people want to give it for. And I think all 4 teams in that division has a chance of winning that division. From Carolina, the defending champ, Atlanta, if Tua can perform and play well inside that dome with those weapons. Tampa, I know they lost Mike Evans, but if they can address the pass rusher at the draft, or maybe a trade or something like that, and then New Orleans. Again, Tyler Shuck, second year under head coach Kellen Moore, more comfortable in this system. So I like the move for the Saints. As far as Jacksonville's a hard team to read for me. 2 years ago, I picked them to win the division. They sucked. Last year, I didn't expect nothing from them. They had a home playoff game, and they had a chance to beat Buffalo before Denver did it in the AFC divisional round. So Jacksonville's a hard team to read. I got to see more, but I agree with you. Tough loss for Jacksonville. Now they do got some other running backs that they drafted later on in the draft, and you know this better than anybody. You can find a running back later, whether he's later in the round 4 through 7. Or if he's undrafted. So, but tough loss for Trevor Lawrence. That's been his guy since he was in high school.
Yep.
Our next topic, JG. The Denver Broncos and the Miami Dolphins made a trade. The Miami Dolphins traded Jaylen Waddle. They got the Miami Dolphins received the Broncos' first round pick, which is the 30th pick in this draft. In this upcoming NFL draft, 2026 NFL draft, along with their late 3rd and 4th round picks, 30th in each draft. The Denver Broncos received Jaylen Waddle, and they received the Dolphins' 4th round pick, which is the 11th pick in the 4th round. I'll start us off with this one. I love the move for both teams. The Broncos last year, they won a lot of ugly, low-scoring type of games. Whereas though they had us questioning, like, was the defense carrying them more than the offense doing their job? Did Bo Nix somewhat have a sophomore slump? Questions like that were being asked. I know they were winning, but it made it seem like offense at times, it was like they were winning in spite of their offense because they had a dominant defense. I think this helps. If you look at what they did last year in the draft, they drafted a running back by the name of R.J. Harvey. Fast, quick running back, get the ball in his hands, let him be a playmaker. This move reminds me of that at the wide receiver position. Now, I think Denver needs to go out. Now, they do have Cortland Sutton, so he's your true X receiver. Now, I'm not going to call Jaylen Waddle a gadget guy because he's more than a gadget guy, but he can be your gadget guy in this type of offense. You can do handoffs to him, jet reverses, jet passes, etc. Screens to him where he can just use his speed and take it to the house. As far as Miami is tearing it down before they build it back up. The one thing now I like it for both teams as far as their team structure. The one person who I do not like it for is newly signed quarterback Malik Willis. This does not make him look good because who are you going to throw the ball to? They released Tyreek Hill and then they traded Jaylen Waddle. So I love it for the structure of the Broncos. I love it for the structure of the Dolphins. I don't love it for Malik Willis.
I'm just glad Malik Willis got paid. He definitely deserved to get paid. Miami is obviously, they're sellers at this point. They're eating so much dead money in cap right now because they realize we're no good with this core. So we're just going to take it on the chin and be bad, and hopefully get out of those contracts, get that money off the books and then build it up again. It sucks for Malik Willis, from a standpoint of you're not expecting a lot from him because of what's going to be around him. We're not sure what's going to be around him. Devon Achane, it looks like he's staying, but I'm surprised that he hasn't been traded as well. If you're going to tear it now, you might as well get rid of everyone. But
I disagree with the Achane thing. You got to have somebody.
No, I get it. I feel you. I'm just looking at what Miami's been doing. Like it kind of surprised me a little bit that HN wasn't a part of those plans as well. As far as on the Denver side of things, yeah, this is a good trade. I don't love what they gave up for him. I think they paid a little bit of a steep price for Jaylen Waddle at this point in his career. And here's why I say this. Now, Bo Nix, decent quarterback, playing well. He had a good game against Buffalo in that playoff game. But Denver's passing game has not been a downfield offense. They really haven't. It's been a lot of intermediate passes. Cortland Sutton for the occasional 30-yard bomb, or if you want to call it a bomb, 40-yard bomb, but primarily they're a running team. They're a short pass team. Bo Nix is a very efficient quarterback, but he doesn't take a lot of shots downfield. Jaylen Waddle is a home run guy. You can throw some shots downfield for him. Now, could this open up that offense and allow Bo Nix to be that kind of quarterback? Sure, the possibility is there. But the evidence that we've seen is that Bo Nix has not been that kind of quarterback under Sean Payton. It's the second year of his career. He can definitely evolve. But a lot of people, and look, the AFC West is still going to be competitive. It's still one of the better conferences in the NFL. The Chargers have gotten better. Kansas City Chiefs, we'll see what happens with Patrick Mahomes there. And then you got the Denver Broncos here. Vegas, they're taking the baby steps. But Denver was 11-2 last year in one-score games. That's something that you can't rely on consistently going from season to season. So how they responded to that this year, typically when you see teams doing well in those one-score games, we think about Jaden Daniels and the DC Commanders, how they were winning games the way they were. A lot of one-score games that they came on top of. The following season, not so much. A lot of that had to do with injury, of course, but being that consistent with one-score games is very tough to ask for anybody. So we have to see, I have to see how this Denver Broncos team looks with Waddle. I have to see what Bo Nix looks like with a guy like Jaylen Waddle to go with Cortland Sutton. Right now, the evidence is telling me that this is kind of a wait and see kind of thing. I don't expect Denver to be a number one seed in the AFC this year, but they will be a playoff team primarily because of that good offensive line, a good running game, and that dominant defense that they have. But I think we should not buy too high on Denver based on what I've seen last year and with their one-score games.
Yeah, we disagree. I vehemently disagree that they gave up too much. They gave up the 30th pick in the draft. I know they gave up a third and a fourth, and they basically got a full back from Denver. So they really gave up the 30th pick in the third round pick. For me, the reasons why you said you were questioning about why they did it is the reasons why they should have did it. What's their record again in one-score games? You said they were what?
11-2.
11-2. That's my point. The Commanders rested on their laurels. They're like, oh, well, we just gonna pick up. The Commanders literally moved like a team that said, we're just gonna pick up from the NFC Championship game. We just got to beat the Eagles, and then we're going back to the Super Bowl. No. That's not how the season starts. You start off at 0-0. Everybody has hope in September. Denver is not doing that. Denver, to me, is not resting on their laurels. And first of all, Denver defense was much better than the Commanders defense. That's the first thing. But secondly, they're not resting on their laurels. Like you said, Denver likes to attack short and in the immediate in the let's say intermediate part of the field, within 20 to 25 yards of the field, passing. Well, now when you run the ball and you do that play action, you put that ball in that belly's in the running back's belly, and you pull it out. Now you got somebody running 4.3, 4.4 speed that can get behind somebody. So I actually agree with Denver doing this. You're not going to find Jaylen Waddle at the 30th pick. You damn sure not going to find him in the third round or the fourth round, not unless you have amazing scouts. I'm talking the scouts that was working for the Cowboys in the 90s with Jimmy and Jerry. And if you ain't got that, keep it 100. The reason why that worked, Jimmy coached them in college. So he was familiar with them. So I love the move for the Broncos because you're adding diversity to your offense. And I feel like you can never go wrong with that. So you can stretch the ball down the field. They already run the ball. And like you said, the win-loss record in one-score games, they can't bank on that this season because the NFL is totally, you know how it is, the NFL going to change. The NFL is a week-to-week sport. So I love the diversity that they're trying to add to their offense, and I think Jaylen Waddle can provide that. The question for me is, can their defense, they don't even have to be what they were last year, but can they be in the ballpark of what they were last year? Because if that defense takes a nosedive, then that team going to take a nosedive. But that defense can stay, let's say that defense was right here last year, that defense can be right here. Okay, they still a championship. They were number one seed, so they still a championship contender type of team. They just need the defense to level up. And again, boy genius Sean Payton. Sean Payton could do wonders with Jaylen Waddle.
But do you buy Bo Nix? Are you sold on him yet?
I'm not gonna say I don't buy him. I felt like it would have been nice to see him in a playoff run, a full playoff run, to see him play, because he only really got to play that one game. But I think this will help me buy into Bo Nix more if I get him easy throws, and I think this will be able to get him easy throws.
Okay, we'll see.
JG, our last NFL topic. We have a new highest paid wide receiver in the NFL. His name is Jackson Smith-Njigba, the offensive player of the year. Jackson Smith-Njigba and the Seattle Seahawks reached a 4-year, $168.6 million contract extension, making him the highest paid wide receiver in NFL history. His deal comes to around $42.15 million per year, includes $120 million guaranteed, both setting records for any wide receiver. Shout out to the great Adam Schefter. You guys see that on your screen. JG, before you go, Jackson Smith, can a brother hold $1? That's all I'm asking, bro. Can I hold $1? One. I'm sure, bro, you got enough. Can I brother hold one? JG, what's your thoughts on Seattle re-signing Jackson Smith-Njigba, locking him up?
No brainer. Needed to happen. He was an all-world receiver, the best, by far, best receiver in football last year, in a contract year. He answered the call, and like he was, even though he didn't go off in the Super Bowl, the fact that he was so good all year long, helped Sam Darnold, helped this offense open up. Kenny Walker also, even though he's now with the Kansas City Chiefs, all that generated from Jackson Smith-Njigba's effect just being on the field, but as a decoy or just being the home run hitter that he is. You can give him the ball anywhere you want. You can put him anywhere on the field. In the backfield, you can give him a jet sweep. You can give him a slant route. You can tell him go long one-on-one. Just go beat your guy. I'm just going to throw the ball to you. Go get it. Whatever you need this guy to do, he can do it. Pete Carroll and the Seattle organization knew what they had in Smith-Njigba enough that they were confident. I'm sorry, but not even Pete Carroll, but just the Seahawks organization. They knew what they had in JSN to be
John Snyder.
John Snyder, yes. I apologize. They knew what they had in JSN, saying that DK Metcalf, we'll trade you. We're good. We'll let you go. This is DK Metcalf, freak athlete, physically, a guy that it shot me that they traded him, but they knew about JSN before we did. And coming from Ohio State, who was basically, in my opinion, wide receiver this guy just knows how to play football. So he deserves every penny. Seattle did right by him, and wouldn't shock me at all if JSN follows up his performance with another strong year.
Money well earned, money well deserved. Jackson Smith-Njigba. I thought Puka Nacua was the best receiver, but I had him at number 2 this season. So you can make a choice of whoever you thought was 1 or 2. I think both of those guys. I think Puka Nacua will be the person who eclipsed Jackson Smith-Njigba with this next deal, just because of how the numbers work. But JSN he's earned this. Like you said, starting at Ohio State, working his way up into now, and Seattle told us what they thought about him. They traded DK Metcalf. They didn't trade him for a first-round pick. They traded him for a second-round pick. It wasn't like they got rid of him. It wasn't like they traded him for nothing, but still, they said, okay, young man, we're going to put the keys in your hands. We want you to be wide receiver 1. We want you to be our go-to guy, and that's what he's done. A remarkable rapport with Sam Darnold. I know Sam Darnold's grateful to have him, and I'm sure he's grateful to have, and I know he's grateful to have Sam Darnold. Amazing run by the Seattle Seahawks winning the Super Bowl. I think as we get away from it, to me, it's more impressive. Shout out to Sam Darnold and shout out to Jackson Smith-Njigba for doing what they do. And shout out to John Snyder. Again, seeing it. You got to see things. You feel me? I always say the ability to see things before others can see it, that's a skill, that's a trait. And he definitely saw what Jackson Smith-Njigba can be as wide receiver 1 instead of sharing targets with DK Metcalf. You remember, they also had Tyler Lockett. Yep. So sharing targets with those guys. No, we want you to be wide receiver number 1. So shout out to Jackson Smith-Njigba, and congratulations on being the highest paid wide receiver in the NFL. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick break. You're watching Highly Opinionated. We will be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, this episode of Highly Opinionated is sponsored by Wolves of War. In some of the episodes, you can see my co-host and Ross wearing a brand called Wolves of War. Wolves of War is our first sponsor, ladies and gentlemen, and we are so thankful to have those guys sponsoring Highly Opinionated. Thank you very much. The actual meaning of Wolves of War is that it represents having a strong path behind you through the battles of life. With the right people behind you, you can get through anything. You guys see the link for Wolves of War. Make sure you guys click on the link. Shop, great apparels, t-shirts, sweatsuits, whatever you want, they have. Once again, Wolves of War. Make sure you guys go shop. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Highly Opinionated. As you can see, we have a special guest. A man like plenty other guests that come on the show. He should have been on here a long time ago. Invite been sent out. He already accepted the invitation. Just scheduling issues made for him not to be on at an earlier date. We are happy, excited to have Humble Blessings. My guy, Daquan, welcome to Highly Opinionated. What's going on, brother? How you doing, sir?
Appreciate it, man. It's an honor, bro. Like, felt good to support, black brothers trying to do their thing, and it feel good,
Well, brother, we are grateful to have you, man. Again, we've been trying to get you on for a while now. I know you got great things lined up. Keep doing the great things that you're doing. I know you're a busy man. Just proud of what you're doing and proud of what you got going on and proud of what you're going to do in the future, man.
Appreciate it, brother.
So, Daquan, tell us about yourself, man. Let the world know. Humble Blessings, Daquan.
Humble blessings. So the humble blessings come from, my name Daquan. I'm originally from Baltimore, Maryland. Born and raised, man. Graduated there, high school. Took off to the Army. Been doing the Army thing for 13 years now. About to hang it up, medical wise. I fucked my shoulder up, whatever. But to walk away from that and start a new career doing a non-profit business. So I'm looking forward to that. Currently in California, up in the high desert. It's a little slower than Baltimore, you know what I mean? But it's definitely it keep you humble. It really do, and it keep you I got 2 kids. I got a boy and a girl. I got custody of my little girl, so it really just be me and her rocking out, you know what I mean? So that dad life kind of take over, your personal life, but it is what it is.
Go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, bro. First of all, congratulations for getting to California. That's my favorite place on earth. So I mean, I know you're living up out there for sure.
Indeed.
Yeah, man. But that's awesome though, Brand. Like, what I love to see is like, you're walking away from the Army. You're starting something up right away. You're doing it your way.
Right.
I hear too many stories about like, a lot of people that serve time in the Army and they try to figure out what's next. It's kind of like similar to when basketball players retire. They try to figure out, all right, what am I going to do next? What's that next chapter? Something that I'm passionate about, something that I can really get behind. So, just off what you just said here, I want to say I'm proud of you. First of all, like to have something like mean that much to you that you can build into like anything like a nonprofit. That's to be commended. So definitely don't want to shortcome you there.
Thank you.
For sure.
How has the Army made you into the person that you are today?
Man, like I said, born and raised in the city, man. Definitely a culture shock, I would say. I joined the Army 19 years old, right out of high school, going from the city. My first duty station was Clarksville, Tennessee, at Fort Campbell. Definitely a culture shock with seeing different people of color, culture, what have you. And I used to visit Nashville a lot. I got me a cowboy hat and some boots. I used to go downtown and chop it up. I would say I think the biggest thing, that's 2013, racism was a thing, you know what I mean? But I had friends from different cultural backgrounds. I remember being in a car with a Hispanic guy, a white guy, and myself, and we just leaving the bar and we get pulled over, you know what I mean? And the cop addressed us a little differently once he's seen that who was in the car, that, hey, these guys are military, and kind of like the way it was a little different. But first approach and, first interaction was weird. And then, fast forward, my life in the military, becoming a leader, becoming a supervisor. I've had people under me, different nationalities and different backgrounds, and kind of be able to reach them on a different type of wavelength. As I became a supervisor, I started doing Friendsgivings and stuff like that at my house. Got kids away from their family for the first time and host them over the crib, cook up for them, what have you, make them feel at home. And I got a one kid named Revis from Kentucky. Born and raised country fed white boy. I had him over. His wife was pregnant at the time. I think his daughter's like 6 now. I call him, periodically out of nowhere. Hey man, what you doing? How you doing? And it's funny. His kid is like, oh, who's that? He's like, oh, that's Uncle D. And so it's weird. I haven't talked to him. I haven't seen him in years. But for him to feel that way, it made me feel like I did something right. You know what I mean? Just how I treat people and how people treat you back, type of deal. And then as I progressed, I was an instructor at Fort Lee. Teaching 19-year-old kids up to 30-some-year-old people, and some people were older than me at the time, And it was kind of, they looked at me as an influence and like, damn, like how you get here in life. And I'm telling them like, man, you take one day at a time, put one foot in front of the other, and you just like grind that shit out. I just got my bachelor's degree from online supply chain management. I'm working on my bachelor's for MBA, and I would say like that part right there in my life made me understand that you got to grind somewhere and somehow to try to just keep pushing forward. Even with the fitness journey, I see myself get in shape, get out of shape. You know, being a dad is kind of, you can't be consistent as much as you can be, but it's a way of life. You just got to figure out that balance and stuff like that.
So what led to the decision to get you started in the Army to begin with? And I guess it's kind of a loaded question here. Like, how did you get started with the Army? Like, what led to that decision? And like, what did you learn from that to want to start Humble Blessings? I'm sorry.
I would say what kind of drove me was I transferred schools my sophomore, going to my junior year, and I played sports, but I really wasn't. I was good, right? But you got to hit reality of like what's next really in life. You know what I mean? And so I think my senior year, I sat down. My dad was in the Marines at the time, and I seen how he was being successful. Me and him had an awkward relationship, but I also seen the benefit of how he was able to do things in life. And I took that and I said, hey, like, all right, let me sit down and think about what's next for me. College is expensive. I really didn't like school that much. My uncle was also in the Army at the time too. He was Special Forces. My aunt, she was in as well. So I kind of sat down with them and parlayed with, what's the best outcome for me, long game. And when I first joined, man, I really just joined to get out of the city, bro, because I really was on, I ain't gonna say a bad path, but I really was on an inconsistent path of like, being raised in the city, being in the city, you really don't really have a outlet if it ain't sports, right? It ain't too much really going on if it ain't a sport. And then, I got friends and family that, in the streets or what have you, and that's cool and all for that if that's for you. But I knew I wanted better for myself. So I think I signed up, like November. I had to be at wrestling season. I'm probably in the best shape of my life. And went down, sat with a recruiter and said, hey, I was actually going reserves at first. I think in like February, I realized like, hey, like I gotta get out of here. And so I went and chose active duty instead and shipped out in August. My birthday's in July. I was supposed to ship out in June, but I chose the August because I wanted to have, last soiree before I left, what have you. So, partied up, party like a rock star. And then I left in August, man. And best decision of my life, I would say, even with the ups and downs, being in the military and moving all over the place, missing out on funerals and family functions and stuff like that back home. But I know when I do come home, I feel like I'm not missing enough when I actually get there. It's like people still doing the same thing, I had that saying, they got the saying, crab in a crab barrel, they'll pull you down, what have you. And I know when I come home, I feel like people doing the same thing. It's like, all right, you got to watch how you move when you back in the city. You kind of, that's not who you are anymore. So you got to protect what you've earned and what you work so hard for.
100%.
Yeah, I always say elevation requires separation.
Yes.
In order to elevate, you have to separate from it's not a negative thing. Like people take it as a negative thing. Like, no, you just see what you can be. Like the people I work with on this show, every guy from Dylan to Ross to JG to Tim, like they all want the best. So it's easy to come, quote unquote, come to work when you're working with people that all have the same common goals. Not everyone has the same common goal, and not everyone wants you to be successful. You know that. So separation definitely, elevation requires separation. So I definitely commend you on that. Getting out of the city, joining the Army, and making your life better. My last question for you about the Army is this: what would you say to a young 18, 19-year-old freshman in college, senior, let's just say junior, let's say from a junior to high school to a freshman in college? What would you say to them if they say, hey, I'm thinking about joining the United States Army? What would you tell them, maybe 2 or 3 things that they need to have to be successful in the Army?
I would say lose the mindset of wherever you came from. No matter where you come from, lose that mindset of like, you got to do it your way. The second thing I would say is buying in, that buy-in of this is how the military does it. I now need to get on board so I can be successful. And then the third thing I would say, just enjoy life. You know what I mean? You're going to be put in some circumstances or some situations you might find yourself in that might not feel comfortable, but it's a matter it's going to build you because it's going to be a life lesson in some way, somehow. And I say that because I said the same three things to my little brother. My little brother's in the Army too. He's stationed out in Germany. And I remember him thinking about what to do next. And I had to sit him down. And at the time, I was doing okay in my career, but I still was trying to find myself. And I had to sit him down and let him like, hey, bro, like, the Army's going to be wherever you make it to be. You know what I mean? If you feel like whatever, it's a job, you know? If you got coworkers that are assholes, you got coworkers that, racist, or you got coworkers that want the best for you, you surround yourself with those type of people that you want to be around, and you build on that. And I go back to that, say that guy that's from Kentucky, those guys I had nothing really in common with but the Army. But then when you start talking to people, you start realizing, oh, I got this in common because I have this background. Well, I got that in common from that background. And you take one, teach one, right? You take a good habit they got, you add it to your book bag. They take a habit you have, they add it to their book bag. And it just makes you a better person all around. And that's male, female, in between, you know what I mean? So those are three things. Just whatever you learned or grew up on, keep those good habits and those good those pillars, right? And just apply it to your next life. Because at the end of the day, who you was before you were in the Army ain't who you are no more. You somebody different now, you know what I mean? They call you by your last name. My last name Menifee, you know, and a lot of people can't pronounce Menifee, so they call me Fee. Hey, Sarin Fee, hey, Sarin Fee. So I got so used to being called Fee, you know, my whole life. I mean, since I've been in the military, it's funny when I go home and people call me Daquan, I'm like, huh? Who you talking to? So like that whole thing of, losing who you lose your identity a little bit, but you're creating a new one for a better you.
Gotcha. Daquan, yeah, man, me and JG just send you our best wishes. Amazing career with the Army, continues, great path. Not only what you've done, not only not only you being schooled by your father, but it's basically a heritage. You passing it down to your little brother. Maybe he might pass it down to his brother. You might pass it down to your kid, your son, your daughter, maybe. You feel me, etc. So congratulations on your amazing journey. First ever United States Army vet we had on the show. So
appreciate it.
This, brother. All the best, man. Keep up the great work. And like everyone here in the United States, man, support our troops, man. Support our veterans. Like, they are the ones who should be making the money. And as a person that is an aspiring sports talk show host, and my guy, we do it the right way. My guy right here with his show, the Club JG podcast and everything, the veterans should be making the money, man. Like, they are the people that makes it safe for us to even have a platform to speak. So let's salute and let's shout out our veterans, man.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Now, this is a sports show, so we got to get your sports takes. I know you have various opinions on what's going on in sports, so let me get your first opinion on what's going on in the NFL. The biggest story in the NFL offseason has been the Max Crosby trade, or not trade, I should say. To
right.
What's your thoughts on that situation?
I think the biggest thing on that is like I watched this video, right? And I watched Cam Newton, Cam Newton podcast, Speak Fire, and he really be telling it how it is. And I think the biggest thing I took from it, Cam said it best. You think you that prima donna until somebody show you ain't, the way he said he was treated from flying into DC. We know the East Coast, you got 2 airports you can fly into to get to Baltimore, man. So my boy, he ain't used to it, but like he felt like he's supposed to have been red carpet rolled out. I mean, you ain't performed yet for them to feel like they got to roll a red carpet out. You talk about him meet the GM and stuff like that, and it's like everybody ain't that at that level to do those type things. So I think it's a humble bite of pie for him, to realize, hey, like my performance been decent through the years, but it wasn't decent enough for them to say, hey, X, Y, and Z. And it's a trade at the end of the day. You got to go ahead and show up medically wise. That's why they ain't get them right, medical. And I think they actually got a better bang for their buck with Trey Henderson. You know what I mean? And they get their 2 first-round draft picks back. So, they got to go ahead and get something else in the back. And I think it's a better move than actually sticking with Max Crosby, just because of you still got your asset back. You spent a little bit less bread probably too for somebody who a little bit more healthier.
Yeah. So it's been a lot of back and forth about like, hey, the Ravens do something shady behind the back, saying like they were trying to devalue Max Crosby, all this stuff that came up. And I'm sitting there like, well, here's the thing that's interesting. Like, if Max Crosby was so, everyone was after him, why has no one made a trade for him since he's gone back to Vegas? We haven't heard anything about Max Crosby and other teams, jumping at the chance to make a trade for him. teams are sitting back and waiting because like they're not going to give him a first round pick anymore. They know that his physical was what it was, even though people knew that he was, going through his meniscus tear and all that and had surgery, was rehabbing from it. Everyone knows that. But again, I always say I'm going to trust doctors. I'm going to lean on what the doctors are saying. This ain't just one doctor. This is 3 doctors with the Ravens who are some of the best in the league. And then the Dallas Cowboys doctor who has been renowned as the best in the league. He's saying the same thing. And then the Dallas Cowboys, who were right behind the Baltimore Ravens, were about to offer 1 first-round pick. They're completely backed out. And now we're sitting here like, well, hey, what's going on here? Did the Ravens just totally sabotage or whatever? Like, well, why haven't we seen like any teams push to get Max Crosby since he's been back in Vegas? What's up? Maybe, like you said, it's not that Max Crosby isn't a guy. Max Crosby is a great player. He's phenomenal. He can do so many things for your defense. We just don't appreciate him and get to see him because he's been on such a terrible team for the majority of his career. So naturally, we're going to be like, well, no, is he really that good? I think he is that good. He's just been on a terrible team. He can help anybody. But there is something to be said if we're talking about multiple doctors who've gotten a look at this guy's meniscus and his physical, and there was something there they saw that they felt was concerning enough to back out of this trade. And I agree with you. The Ravens did the perfect pivot move. They went to Trey Henderson, a guy who he's not Max Crosby. We know that. But he is a phenomenal pass rusher. He does his job, which is getting to the quarterback. And for the Baltimore Ravens, what they struggle with the most on defense was getting to the quarterback. This guy answers that question, and you keep your first-round picks, and you can retain your flexibility. You got cap space. Lamar Jackson has restructured his deal, so now you have even more cap space to go out there. The offseason is just getting started. I think you kind of get caught up in free agency is just getting started. All these teams are making these moves, wham, back and forth. It's still a long offseason. The draft is not even here yet. There's a lot that can happen throughout the rest of this offseason going into training camp that can benefit the Baltimore Ravens. And I think they made a good start with what they did with Trey Henderson and keeping those first-round picks.
I'd like to also talk about, you look at the Micah Parsons trade, right? Micah Parsons came off the injury and got traded. That team took a chance on him saying, we know what you've done and what you can do for us. We'll go ahead and let you rehabilitate and go ahead and take you in. Max Crosby ain't Micah Parsons. So that Ravens ain't saying, hey, we're going to take our chance on you because of you've been on lousy teams, and stuff like that. So it's the same kind of situation. It's just that team value him a little bit better than the next. So it's like I said, he got to humble himself a little bit. And he got to show him perform. And it's hard to perform when your team always down and you chasing the back end of it. So, he's just in a bad situation trying to get out.
I don't think it's his fault though, just the way things have turned out. This is a defensive player in the NFL. You can only do but so much. You can't throw the football, you can't run the football, you can't catch it. So that if that side of the team isn't doing their job, you can only do so much. This isn't the age of the 2000 Ravens defense where you're winning games 6-3, 9-6, and your offense is like, hey, just don't screw it up. Give us some long fields to play with. Punt the ball. Give us a long field. We'll win the game.
Right.
No more. If anything, it's very rare that it does happen, especially with the talent we have this year.
That's true.
Over the past few years.
That's true.
Yeah, I think both of you guys are right. I think the Ravens, Daquan, I think you're 100% right. The Ravens basically recoup what they got with getting those 2 first-round picks back. That really helped them out. And with the JG, you're right. Like the Ravens weren't trying to play stupid games. Like they wanted Max Crosby. You're not going to trade 2 first-round picks for a player. So you're not going to trade 2 first-round picks for a player that you don't want. So they wanted him. He didn't pass their doctors. Like JG said, multiple doctors looked at him, and he didn't pass. And no one else. Think about this. No one else has made a trade offer for Max Crosby. So
nope.
That tells me that it's just more than what the Ravens not wanting him. So now I think Max Crosby is a better player than Trey Henderson, but I get your point about the Ravens resetting and taking Trey Henderson in. And again, you have your 2 first-round draft picks, so maybe there's a trade down the line. Maybe there's a trade next season, 2 seasons from now that you could do with those. Maybe I shouldn't say 2 seasons down the line. Maybe there's a trade next season that you could do with one of those picks to improve your team. The Ravens still need offensive line help. Still, in my opinion, need secondary help. They need linebacker help. So they need a couple positions. They need a excuse me. The Ravens need a true X receiver. I'm not going to throw no names out here, but there's a certain wide receiver that plays in Philadelphia. He's a true X receiver. You feel me? Jamar Chase is a true X receiver. The best receivers are true X receivers. Only best receivers that are small He just got paid today, and me and JG talked about him earlier. Jackson Smith and Jigga. The rest of the receivers are big. Puka Nacua might look small on TV. He's a big man. Jamar Chase is a big man. T. Hit, et cetera. CD Lamb. CD might be another one that might be on the little smaller side, but he's still big as far as a man presence.
He can go up and go get it.
Exactly. So my point is that I think it could help the Ravens and the Raiders. I think the Raiders, if you look at their offseason, with them keeping Max Crosby, you have to say, they one of the teams that has won free agency. You feel me? Because they have the first overall pick. They can get their franchise quarterback. Now I'm not
Mendoza, he good. He good now.
He is good. Now, to me, that's the thing. And you might disagree on this, D, but I like Mendoza. I don't know if he's worth the number one pick. I don't. And I'm gonna tell you why. If you watch Indiana played in structure. There was a lot of RPOs. There was a lot of quick passes. There was a lot of, one read, you get the ball. And you also had good receivers. Charlie Becker, number 80. He, in my opinion, he might not be a number one, number two receiver. He can play in the NFL. They have another receiver, Amari Cooper Jr. He can play in the NFL. He's going to be a first-round draft pick. So, for me, I just look at I think Mendoza's good. I just don't think he's great. Go ahead, Joe.
I don't even want to be disrespectful with saying this, but when I watch Mendoza play, it kind of reminds me of J.J. McCarthy with Michigan. And what I mean by that is, before everyone goes crazy, I'm not saying that Fernando Mendoza is J.J. McCarthy. I think Fernando Mendoza is a very good quarterback. I think he will do well, in a system. But same thing was said about J.J. McCarthy. What did Mendoza have in Indiana? Dominant running game, dominant offensive line, really good receivers. I'm not saying that Mendoza can't play. I just don't know if I'm ready to deem him a franchise quarterback at number one. I think he's a good quarterback. I think he can play in the NFL. He can be serviceable. But we're talking about Pro Bowl, All-Pro, franchise quarterback, force multiplier. The guy where it's like, hey, it doesn't matter. Just give me the damn ball. I'll make something happen. I'll make something shake. I just don't see it in Mendoza. It kind of just reminds me of, that Michigan team with J.J. McCarthy. McCarthy looked good in spots, made the plays where he had to make them. But what we talk about, offensive line, dominant defense, dominant running game, damn good receivers out there that make a lot of people look good. Just saying.
No, you are definitely right. Like, it definitely are comparisons, and I like J.J. McCarthy. I probably like him a little bit more than y'all, but I have to be fair. That is the perfect similarity in the situation because Indiana had a very good to dominant defense. You got playmakers all around, Fernando Mendoza, and that's the same thing that Michigan had with J.J. McCarthy. So
great coach, Kirstie Nettie, great coach like Jim Harbaugh was. Like it's a great system and great staff that makes players look good, and that's what you want at the end of the day. You want to be in a situation that's going to make you look the best, going to the pros. But eventually, we got to see who you are without those extra things that that extra makeup that makes you look good. Who are you without makeup? You know what I mean? Like, what do you look like without it? That's all I'm saying.
No, you are right. Daquan, we appreciate you joining us back, brother. Appreciate you, man.
Technical difficulties.
You out there in that beautiful California weather, man. So we definitely understand.
There's too many people here. I think that's what it is, man. The overpopulation, you're messing with your signal, like.
So I'm gonna get you, AD. I'm gonna get you up out of here on this.
Okay.
March Madness. What's your thoughts on March Madness so far?
They talking about Cinderella stories and stuff like that. I like Texas, man. And I say Texas they got that dog in them, bro. And they hungry and they been unappreciated and they trying to show. They ain't trying to show. They showing we here. You know what I mean? Ain't got too many big name athletes on their team, but they play as a team. You know what I mean? And they play defense. They scrap. I would say Texas is my shot, my pick. To say they're gonna pull through.
Okay.
I don't like the whole Cinderella thing being attached to Texas. I love what Coach Sean Miller has said, in his presser. He said, you know what, bro? Like we ain't no Cinderella. We the University of Texas. We play in the SEC. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I was like, I was like, yeah, I'm ready to play a game right now for him. It's like, yeah, that's the mindset you should have. Like, man, like we ain't no out of nowhere team. Like we Texas. Everybody know about.
We ain't
Texas.
No small school.
Kevin Durant. No, this is a big time school in Texas. You kidding me? Everybody talk about football and everything, but that basketball team has had rich history as well. You know, we talk about players that came through there. So I love what Coach Sean Miller has said. Texas to me is they can play with anybody left in this tournament. I fell for Gonzaga once again. You know, they fool me. They fool me every single year. I look at them and it's like, Gonzaga, there they go again. Like they're back, you know, playing in a no-name conference that no one cares about, and they win 30 games. And it's like they're on the way to the Final Four, and then they do this. So I fell for that trick again. Good job, Gonzaga. You got me again. But Texas, to me, they have, like you said, they got an underdog mentality, and it's dangerous when you have a high-profile school like Texas with those guys there being down and having an underdog mentality. So they're playing with house money. It's more freeing than playing with that going into March Madness and Sweet 16.
So I'm gonna say this: Texas reminds me a little bit. They might not be team for team, talent for talent, but they remind me of Arkansas last year, who was a double-digit seed, who got to the Sweet 16, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think Arkansas got to the Elite Eight last year, if I'm not mistaken. So that's why I think you talking about Cinderella just because of the seed number, but technically Texas is not, like, everybody know hook 'em. You fam? Everybody know about Texas, whether it's football, basketball, etc. So no, I definitely get the Cinderella part because of the seed line. But I'm looking. I think that Texas Purdue game, Thursday 7-10 on CBS. I think that should be Purdue's favored by 6.5. I think that should be a good game. I would not be surprised if Texas won that game. They have the athletes. They have the length to stay with Purdue, and you can find a way to make life a little hard for the leading assist man in college basketball history, Braden Smith, the point guard for Purdue. You definitely got a chance of beating them. So I'm definitely looking forward to that game. It's so many. I mean, it's the Sweet 16, so you're down to the best 16 teams technically in college basketball. So all matchups from Duke, St. John's, Michigan State, UConn, Iowa, Nebraska, Illinois, Houston, Arizona, Arkansas, Texas, Purdue, Michigan, Alabama, Tennessee, and Iowa State. All those matchups are good. And let me do this. I know you out there on the West Coast, and you might have been adopted, bro, because you out there, and you know your favorite schools might have changed conferences. So let me give some love to the Big Ten. They have, if I'm not mistaken, I think they have 6 teams in the Sweet 16, Michigan, Purdue, Illinois, Iowa, and Nebraska. By the way, they have to play each other, and Michigan State. So they have 6 teams out of 16 in the Sweet 16. So all you Big Ten fans and lovers, man, you guys enjoy it. Enjoy it.
Remember when you told me that the ACC was better than the Big Ten?
Ooh. And what sport? Baseball? Baseball?
Right. We talking about basketball? We talking about baseball?
We gotta be baseball, baby.
Hey man, listen.
The Big Ten is dominating football and basketball, baby. I must say, they've been. Ohio State just won a championship, a couple years ago. You got Indiana been balling, like
Michigan.
The last 3 national champions have been Big Ten teams.
Say it again.
Ohio State, Michigan, and now Indiana.
I'm just saying. And they beat up on each other all year long too. They compete, and that's the thing about you said about Texas being an SEC, right? SEC football being tough, right? Even basketball, I would say, is tough as well. Like you spoke, but Arkansas last year, they might not have a high caliber of teams that got big wins or like a whole bunch of wins because they beat up on each other all year long. And then when they get to these tournaments, it's like, all right, I'm gonna beat up on the Gonzaga because Gonzaga ain't play nobody, but they've been blowing people out by 20 points. So it's like they here to play too. They're like, hey, like you ain't as tough as you thought you was. I'm gonna show you who Big Bad Wolf is.
Come on, man.
I'm gonna end it with this. I have to give credit to the Big Ten. They are not only the best conference in football. I thought the Big 12 was the best conference. The Big 12 has 2 teams left in the NCAA tournament: Iowa State and Houston. So yeah, I have to. So yes, the Big Ten is the best in basketball and in football. When
are you going to keep calm and listen to JG? When I tell you these things, I know these things.
I should.
You do your homework. You do your homework, JG. Tell me you're stewardess.
Exactly.
I would say another word, but I can't say that. But hey, he's a great guy. He's a great guy. Daquan, bro, You are the best, bro. We appreciate you for coming on the show. We look forward to having you back on, man. You enjoy that California air. Thank you for being thank you for your service. Keep up the great work, bro. And we look forward to having you back on the show, bro.
I appreciate it, brothers.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Bro.
we're gonna take a quick break. You're watching Highly Opinionated. We will be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, this episode of Highly Opinionated is brought to you by Edibly Airy. Enjoy the heightened experience of THC edibles in a whole new way. At Edibly Airy, our freeze-dry edibles available in 100 milligram, 200 milligram, 300 milligram, 400 milligram will give you the buzz you crave with a flavor you won't forget. Available in 3 different flavors: watermelon sunset, tropical fruit, and berry. To place orders, please visit the website at ediblyairy.com. While you're there at ediblyairy.com, use a promotion code. You guys see the promotion code on the screen. $ Highly Airy, $. Again, $ Highly Airy, $ for 20% off your first purchase. Follow us on IG at Edibly Airy for new product releases and monthly hookups. Must be 21 and over to purchase. Edibly Airy, the best freeze-dry edibles out. Go shop. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Highly Opinionated. It's that time, the best segment in sports. This week's edition of Let's Talk About It, NFL theme this week. NFL free agency basically died down for the most part. It's time for myself, my great co-host, to give out our winners and losers of NFL free agency up to this point. JG, the floor is yours, my brother. Who are your winners of NFL free agency so far?
So my winners of free agency are the Carolina Panthers, the LA Rams, and the Vegas Raiders. Let's start with Carolina here. Carolina bolstered their defense, which is already pretty good and underrated in my opinion, going into the free agency. Adding Jalen Phillips from the Philadelphia Eagles and also Devin Lloyd to two major deals. And then also outside linebacker Nick Hampton. But they also bolstered their offensive line to help protect Bryce Young by coming to a deal with left tackle Rasheed Walker. So the Panthers, they're bought in. They think that they're right there to compete in the NFC. They believe that they can take this division not just from this year, but also going into next season. The only question that I do have about the Panthers is, what is that running back room going to look like? What is the running game going to be now that Rico Dowdle is no longer with Chuba Hubbard since Rico Dowdle signed with the Pittsburgh Steelers? And I can't say that I'm still not 100% sold on my guy Bryce Young, my guy from Alabama. Had a pretty good season, but again, at times you just see this roller coaster of games where it's like it looks really bad, and then there's games where it looks pretty good, where it's like, hey, that's the guy that we thought we saw, but it's still and the Panthers were the epitome of a roller coaster all of last season. Finishing with where they did. It's like every game it was really bad or really good, where it's like, hey, the Panthers might be actually good, and it's like, no, they're still bad. So the consistency is still what I'm looking for, but I do like what the Panthers are doing just to bolster this roster, continue to improve on that defense, and also help that offensive line. For the LA Rams, I think they had a pretty damn good offseason, all things considered. They addressed the main problem that they had, which was in their secondary.
Well, did they ever address it?
Well, it helps to go ahead and get Trent McDuffie from the Kansas City Chiefs, going ahead to get, what's the other guy, Jaylen Waddle, also from the Kansas City Chiefs. So you took the Chiefs' top 2 corners and added them. You signed Trent McDuffie to a long-term deal to basically be like the guy at corner. That was the main problem. That's kind of what did them in the NFC Championship game, was the secondary and then special teams. Well, they've definitely addressed that. So it's no secret why the Rams are right now favorites to go back to the Super Bowl going into next season, which happens to be in LA in SoFi Stadium. So pretty convenient there. But I love what the Rams did. They look like they are primed for another deep run. And I think this time it's going to end with getting back to one last home game in SoFi. And then finally, my third winner, Vegas Raiders. Now, still got a long way to go. Obviously, you're filling in some holes here, but you signed the likes of Nakobe Dean. You got Max Crosby back, even though it was a weird situation with that trade. You got him back. You went out and got Tyler Linderbaum from the Ravens, who's one of the best centers in the league. You signed him to a long-term deal to help stabilize that offensive line for your likely incoming young quarterback in Fernando Mendoza. You're going to be drafting him. Oh, by the way, you still got Ashton Genty back there, who is going to his sophomore year. You expect a lot better from Genty since you helped bolster this offensive line to help with that running game. And then you also go out and get the likes of the guy from the Minnesota Vikings. Name escapes me right now, but can't remember his name right now. But another good receiver out there from Nando Mendoza. You help
Jalen Naylor.
Thank you, sir. Jalen Naylor. Going out and get Jalen Naylor to help bolster that wide receiver room from Nando Mendoza. You got Tom Brady. I'm at the controls for the GMs. I think the Raiders are taking steps in the right direction. Am I ready to say they're going to start competing in the division? No, because I'm not. We have eyes. We have the ability to see. Thank God, they're not quite there yet, but they are taking steps in the right direction. They're helping to improve their team, and then all eyes will be on Fernando Mendoza when he steps in as a rookie. So those are my winners for free agency as of right now.
Okay, the Carolina Panthers, the LA Rams, and the Las Vegas Raiders are JG's winners. So we share on the Rams. I had them down as a winner, so I'll give you two different ones. I'll start off with a team that I didn't have any expectations for last season going into the season. They won their division, and we all of us on this show laughed when we mentioned their name. They just happened to be in the AFC North. The Pittsburgh Steelers. I felt like they've had a good offseason. They had a very good, quiet, but good offseason. They signed Jaquan Brisker, 1-year deal, safety from the Chicago Bears, coming from that turnover machine last year. Hopefully the Steelers trying to, let's get a little younger. Let's get some let's get some athleticism in here. Let's get some turnovers. They went out and signed cornerback Jamel Dean from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So you got Joey Porter on one side. Hopefully Jamel Dean, his only issue has been staying healthy. And he's been inconsistent at certain moments, but his biggest thing is about staying healthy. You signed Rico Dow. If you watch him run, he's a Pittsburgh running back through and through, the way he likes to run and his physicality. And for me, a low-key signing, Sebastian Joseph-Day, a good defensive tackle who can stop the run, who can help free up the linebackers behind him, and also who can help free up the defensive ends on the edge. Alex Highsmith, and you got obviously TJ Watt. But to me, the move that nobody will talk about because he'll talk about it because it was a trade, but he doesn't get the credit he deserves. I love Michael Pittman. You put Michael Pittman and DK Metcalf on the same field, you just tell the quarterback, listen, just don't throw the ball in the moon. Just don't throw the ball to the moon. You can throw it to the sky, just don't throw it to the moon because these big, tall guys can go up and get it. So I love that for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Again, you got two X-wide receivers now. You might not have all that speed. You might not have a lot of speed, but that's what Calvin Austin the third can come in. Hopefully, my guy Roman Wilson, we love him from Michigan. Hopefully, he can step up and perform well with those guys at the wide receiver position. So I love what the Pittsburgh Steelers have done. And another winner that I will give credit to, the Houston Texans. They went out and signed Reed Blankenship. I love him adding another just playmaker in that secondary, along with Stingley, along with Lassiter, along with that in that backfield. And they improved the offensive line. They went out and signed Braden Smith, former offensive lineman from the Colts, gave him a 2-year deal, $25 million contract, $13 million fully guaranteed. And they went out and signed a guy that I used to like in Cleveland, offensive lineman. I know he's on the older side, Wyatt Teller, offensive guard. Went out and improved their defensive line, signed two solid players, Logan Hall, and went out and signed Dominique Robinson. Also signed offensive lineman Evan Brown. So two questions about the Texans: the quarterback and the offensive line. They had better offensive linemen today than what they had to end the season last year. So again, let's improve the offensive line as much as we can, so we can find out, was it the quarterback who, he just had a sophomore slump, or is this who CJ Stroud is moving forward? So love the Texans. I love what the Steelers have done.
I understand you picking the Pittsburgh Steelers. They did have a pretty good offseason, in my opinion. Michael Pittman is still a very, very good receiver. And now you're telling me you got to deal with him and DK Metcalf. That's not going to be fun. But the only thing I'm going to push back on with the Steelers is you didn't get much younger on the defensive side of the ball. Yeah. And you didn't get much, a guy that's – what was the problem with Pittsburgh last year? They were old and slow. Expensive, but old, slow, and not necessarily, able to stay on the field health-wise. Jamel Dean, I don't think addresses that problem. Now, is Jamel Dean a good player? Absolutely. Not saying that he's not a good player, but what was the knock that you just said on him? Staying on the field.
Yep.
And he's not exactly a younger player. So you add another old guy to a team of old guys. Now, to credit Cam Hayward, this guy's still a damn good run stopper even at his advanced age. He's phenomenal. But at some point in time, you got to start getting younger on defense, and the Steelers did not do that. Now they're going to remain who they are. Keep the status quo. We're not going to rebuild. We're not tearing it down. We're the Pittsburgh Steelers. We're going to compete. And you still don't know who the hell's going to be throwing the ball. There's the guy Aaron Rodgers turning 42 years old. He's doing this thing like he always does every offseason. I'll let you guys know. I'm going to take my little trip and everything and like do my little ayahuasca trip. So you still don't know. Now the consensus is like it's a good feeling that he will come back. And if he comes back, Aaron Rodgers was pretty damn good for the Steelers. He was not the problem last year with the Steelers. He was not. It was the defense. Now, did you get some guys, some more names for that defense? Sure. But did you necessarily get better, in my opinion? I still have question marks about that. Now, if Aaron Rodgers comes back and you're telling me he's got Michael Pittman and DK Metcalf to throw to, you might have some problems there for sure. But I still question that Pittsburgh Steelers defense. Again, very expensive, older, still pretty good. TJ Watt's still there. He's still TJ Watt. But are these guys going to be able to stay healthy throughout the season? As you get older, as we know, that gets a lot harder. And you're playing in cold Pittsburgh, that gets cold very fast. There's leaves question marks there for me.
No, you definitely are right. And I will say you actually mentioned the defense not getting younger. That's definitely a negative. And I felt like the team MVP, the offensive MVP, they lost Kenneth Gainwell. That type of running back who can run and catch the ball. I know he went down to Tampa, but that type of running back, people that know me, I'm a Tom Brady fan. Tom Brady doesn't win his Super Bowls without the Deion Lewises, the James Whites, the Rex Burkheads, the Shane Vereen had 12 catches in the Super Bowl against Seattle. 12. So my point is that, yeah, you got Gronk, you got the great players, but you need a running back that can just do more than just run the ball. He's just not – he can get you – that's why B. John Robinson is so amazing. Christian McCaffrey, those type of – Jahmyr Gibbs. You feel me? So I agree with you on that. But I just think the Steelers, man, we've been trying to get them to tank for something. Tank is not the right word, but like regress so they can get a quarterback to get better. They just don't believe in it. So they went out and hired Mike McCarthy. They obviously feel like Aaron Rodgers is going to be the quarterback. Now, if he's not the quarterback, then they should regress. But I'm assuming he'll be the quarterback. I like the moves. And they made moves for a 40-some-year-old quarterback. They made moves, bro. Just throw the ball to them tall guys. You feel me? So they made moves for that. So now, JG, we gave out some winners. It's time to give out some losers. Teams that we thought would do more that hasn't lived up to what we thought they would do up to this point. The floor is yours, my brother.
Well, I mentioned them a little bit earlier, but the Jacksonville Jaguars losing Travis Etienne. A guy that really was like the identity of their running game. I'm not saying that Jacksonville doesn't have decent running backs there, but I just feel like Travis Etienne was still like he was the bell cow. He was the guy you could depend on being a 3-down back. Good receiving back for Trevor Lawrence. Good security blanket there. Now that you let him go to the Saints, you don't really see much improvement. Jacksonville didn't make many moves at all, in my opinion. Through our free agency, they kind of remain the same, so to speak. And we all know that if you stay the same in the offseason, you got worse. You can't stay the same as a team. That means you got worse. So I would say there's concerns there for me. Now, Liam Cohen, we all believe in as a really good coach. Trevor Lawrence had a pretty good season. I caught a lot of hell, for calling Trevor Lawrence overrated, even though I stand by it. But Trevor Lawrence had a pretty good season, up until the playoff game where I basically predicted that he would make that one crucial mistake to lose the game, and he ended up doing that. So, but we'll see what Jacksonville is going to look like. But I don't love losing Travis Etienne. I just feel like that's not something that will help you get better. But we'll see what happens there. My other loser, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Mike Evans was the identity of Tampa Bay, especially when you get to that red zone. He's just – you talk about ex-receiver, you talk about a guy where it's like, I don't give a damn what the play is, just throw it up to him. That's Mike Evans. And I'm surprised that he actually left Tampa. I didn't think he would ever leave Tampa. I thought he was going to retire there. It really shocked me for sure. But for Baker Mayfield, that sucks for him because like that is the guy that he looks for, especially when you need a big third down, when you need, when you're in the red zone and you need a touchdown. That's the guy he's looking for. It's no secret. So now you have and Chris Godwin, who's getting up there in age, has dealt with so many injuries. You have a young Ibuka from Ohio State, who I think is really good, but he's not Mike Evans. So then you have McMillan. So you got some nice receivers there, but they just ain't Mike Evans. So I wonder how this offense will evolve and how it's going to look now that that big target, that big security blanket is no longer there. What are we going to have from the running game? Because Sean Tucker is no longer there. So now you have Rashad White is no longer there either. So now you have Bucky Irving. What's that going to look like going forward? So I think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are a loser here in free agency here. And my last one, the Philadelphia Eagles. I do not love what the Eagles have had going on this offseason. They lost some guys on defense that I think were stabilizers. Reed Blankenship, that's a stabilizer on defense back there. That you lose that guy. There's rumors that Jalen Carter's on the trading block. You might possibly heard so much about A.J. Brown being on the trading block. We have another new offensive coordinator coming into Philadelphia. There's just too many question marks there where it's like Jahan Dotson, your third wide receiver, he's no longer there. It just doesn't feel like the Eagles got better. And again, it's early. When I say winners and losers, I'm not saying, oh my God, the sky's falling and all that. Philadelphia Eagles is still, a pretty good team. They have everything. They have what it takes to at least be a playoff team. You still have Jalen Hurts there. You still have Saquon Barkley. But let's say the Eagles lose A.J. Brown, where does that leave this offense? Does the offense become more predictable? And are you ready to say Devontae Smith is a number one caliber receiver? I don't know about that. Are we sure that this Eagles defense is going to be just as dominant as they've been in the past few years? I'm not sure about that. Cooper DeJean's a nice player. Mitchell is a damn good corner. But now you lose a stabilizer, the guy that's been back there calling the play, so to speak, and kind of like, reading the quarterback's eyes and Reed Blankenship back there at safety. It's going to look different. I don't really care who you put back there. It's not the same guy. So I don't think the Eagles have gotten better so far. I think they're losing some key guys. And I question, how this is going to affect them going into next season.
I also, to add to the Eagles' point, they lost their offensive line coach, Jeff Stoutland.
Yeah.
He's been there for years as an offensive line coach. So Eagles definitely an off-season to change with the Philadelphia Eagles. Your point about Tampa, you make a great point about Mike Evans. I talked about X receiver basically this whole episode. He is your true definition of X receiver. I know he has the stats. I know he has the numbers, but when people talk about the best receivers of this time, they never put Mike Evans up there. San Francisco got a gift. Hopefully him and Brock Purdy can make magic with George Kittle. And the one thing that Tampa had last year, 2 years ago, but they didn't have last year, but he has now, he has an offensive mind calling the plays with Kyle Shanahan like they did with Liam Cohen 2 seasons ago. Now, Kyle Shanahan is a better offensive mind. We get that. But, my point is that you have an offensive mind, so now it's easy. You're going to get easy yards. You're going to get easy catches because you have an offensive mind. So I agree with you on the losers. I am going to I only have, because we agree mostly on the losers. I'm only going to add one loser, and I'm going to add a player, and that's J.J. McCarthy. Not only did the Vikings bring Kyler Murray into the room, they added Carson Wentz to the room. So now you have 2 quarterbacks, and we all know that when they sign Kyler more likely than not is going to be the starter. So with that nugget of not only having Kyler, but you add Carson Wentz to the room, I think J.J. McCarthy days in Minnesota, they're more likely than not numbered. You feel me? Because if Kyler plays well, then he's going to resign. Why would he not resign? That would be stupid. In Minnesota, trust me, guess what? They're not going to do what they did with Sam Darnold again. Remember, they had Sam Darnold and Daniel Jones. And I know Daniel Jones got hurt again, but Daniel Jones was on the verge of, in my opinion, being the comeback player of the year. He was balling. He was doing what he was supposed to be doing until he got hurt. So they had Sam Darnold. He won the Super Bowl. Daniel Jones was balling. So for me, the Vikings won't do that again. So for me, my biggest loser of this free agency, J.J. McCarthy's time in Minnesota. I like J.J. I think J.J. can play under the right situation. I know that probably minimizes him as a quarterback, but all quarterbacks can play under the right situation, under the right circumstance. For example, Buffalo wouldn't be the perfect place for Sam Darnold because they would ask him to do everything. He can't do everything, maybe like a Josh Allen to an extent, even though Josh Allen can't do everything. You feel me? He needs help as well. But Buffalo asks more of Josh Allen than what Seattle does of Sam Darnold. You feel me? So that doesn't diminish Sam Darnold. You feel me? But that's just a fact. So it's okay for a quarterback to get to a situation where it's just right for him. Sam Darnold, Seattle, just right for him. Baker Mayfield, Tampa, just right for him. Hopefully, J.J. McCarthy can find that situation wherever it is. But after this offseason, guess what? I have a pretty good feeling it damn sure won't be in Minnesota with Kyler Murray and Carson Wentz being signed there.
My only thing about J.J. McCarthy and the Minnesota Vikings, it's okay to sit him. It's okay for him to sit down and learn.
Okay.
I think we're so far gone from like just Jordan Love, Aaron Rodgers, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes. These guys all sat.
They did.
They learned.
But the problem,
it's okay to sit J.J. McCarthy and let him learn. Like, it doesn't mean that his career is done in Minnesota. Like, just go ahead, Jack.
Yeah, but it would though, because Kyler's young. Kyler ain't old. You know what I'm saying? Kyler ain't even 30 yet.
Yeah, I get all that, but like, are we sure that Minnesota's going to sign him to a long-term deal? Like,
you
don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what's going to happen there. You know?
No, I get it. Yeah, I don't. But I'm saying if if Kyler plays well, they have no choice but to resign. Because they can't do, like I said earlier, they can't do what they did with Sam Darnold and Daniel Jones. They're going to have to resign.
I can't see Kyler Murray like even getting more than like a 3-year deal. If he gets like a 3-year deal, I could see that. Okay. That's still like, okay, year 5, JJ McCarthy sits and learns, and then he's ready to take the reins. I don't think it should be out of the question. That's all I'm saying. Is it going to happen? Not in this age of the NFL. Just don't do that. You know, we give on guys after 2 years, you know, without really developing them, and then we cast them out, and then their careers are short. Anthony Richardson is the latest example. Now we got JJ McCarthy. Lack of development, lack of accountability on the organization, it all falls on the player.
We seen that 1 year. You said 2 years. I seen in Tennessee they gave up 1 year on Will Levis. He played 1 year, didn't play again. Malik Willis, he wasn't ready. Malik Willis said when he signed his contract with the Miami Dolphins, I wasn't ready to be a quarterback when I got in the league. These are essentially teenagers coming in here to fulfill a job. Nobody is ready. You feel me? So
and even like I laugh and joke about him, but even Josh Rosen, you know, in that quarterback class with the 2018, you know, that had Lamar Jackson, Baker Mayfield, and Josh Allen, you know, Josh Rosen was a guy that, you know, people talked about that got drafted by the Cardinals. One season he was done because Kyler Murray came out. And this guy never had a chance to develop. Never
played in the league again, if I'm not mistaken. So, I'm not. The more you talk about it, I actually agree with you. I'm just looking at it from the premise of it's not going to happen. But yes, like some quarterbacks need to sit 3-4 years to develop. If you look at again Sam Darnold, Baker, Geno, I know Geno's struggling now with the Raiders, but they weren't good until they got to their second, some of them third, fourth locations. So you know it takes time. Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Highly Opinionated. We will be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, this episode of Highly Opinionated is sponsored by Wolves of War. In some of the episodes, you can see my co-host and Ross wearing a brand called Wolves of War. Wolves of War is our first sponsor, ladies and gentlemen, and we are so thankful to have those guys sponsoring Highly Opinionated. Thank you very much. The actual meaning of Wolves of War is that it represents having a strong path behind you through the battles of life. With the right people behind you, you can get through anything. You guys see the link for Wolves of War? Make sure you guys click on the link, shop, great apparels, t-shirts, sweatsuits, whatever you want, they have. Once again, Wolves of War. Make sure you guys go shop. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Highly Opinionated. Ladies and gentlemen, as we always do, we're going to end the show, college basketball. Best time, college basketball fan. You have March Madness going on, male and female. We just want to give a special shout out to the UConn Huskies. I just don't see a team beating them, man. We're talking about the UConn women's team. I just don't see a team beating them. They undefeated for a reason, JG, right?
I feel bad for whoever has to play them at this point.
Yeah.
Shit. Man,
Jesus Christ. They beating team 65-12 at halftime. Truly amazing.
It's halftime.
JG, let's get over to the men's side of it. We're down to the Sweet 16. Down to the final 16 teams in college basketball. We have 3 number ones remaining. The first number 1 seed to lose was in the second round. Florida lost to Iowa. Iowa defeated Florida 73-72. A great game. There's a lot of great games the first two rounds of the tournament, from Florida to Iowa, Vanderbilt and Nebraska. Let me say this. Shout out to Nebraska. Them fans in Oklahoma City, me watching them Nebraska games, bro, I thought they was playing in Nebraska. Like, you felt like it was a Nebraska home game. So shout out to the Big Red. Shout out to Big Red for traveling with their team and following their team. High Point in Arkansas. Shout out to High Point. That was our quote unquote Cinderella. They beat Wisconsin in the first round. They gave Arkansas everything they had. Now I know we subjected to talk about Darius Acliffe Jr. and he's a hell of a player. But I want to show some love to my man. Not my man, but shout out to Rob Martin, senior point guard for High Point. He had 30. I know Acliffe had 36, but Rob Martin had 30. He came to play. He came to hoop. So High Point was our Cinderella, but they gave us two good games with Wisconsin, and then they gave us a good game with Arkansas. So JG, we're down to the Sweet 16. I have the matchups right here. You guys see it on the screen. We let me do it in chronological order. Be fair. Start off Thursday. 11 seed Texas plays number 2 Purdue. The game is 7:10 on CBS. Number 9 seed Iowa plays number 4 seed Nebraska. All Big Ten Sweet 16 matchup. That game is 7:30 on TBS and True TV. Number 4 Arkansas takes on number 1 Arizona. That game is at 9:45 on CBS. Number 3 Illinois. Number 2 Houston. That game is the last game on Thursday. That game is at 10:05 on TBS and True TV. So, JG, your thoughts, the 4 games on Thursday. If you want to make predictions, you can, or just want to talk about what you think how those games will go, etc. The floor is yours.
Big Ten, what up, though? I want to give a shout out to the Big Ten dominating in this NCAA tournament. 6 teams in the Sweet 16. You got to give credit where credit is due for that. I had a feeling that a number 1 seed was going to go down this weekend. I couldn't figure out who, because I had my questions about each one of them. Duke was a little shaky, with Caleb Foster not being there. We saw what we saw against Siena, and then we see Michigan. I wasn't impressed with Michigan, going into the tournament because of what I saw in the Big Ten tournament, against Purdue. And then, Florida returning. It's always hard to get back to the national champion after you defend it. So you knew they were going to get everyone's best shot, and they couldn't have an off night. And then for Arizona probably had the least amount of questions, because they, to me, have been like one of the more consistent teams and complete teams in college basketball from what I've seen. But it's just like with the injuries, guys coming back in and out from the lineup, those are my only questions. How would that work? Would that interrupt anything as far as chemistry? But so far it hasn't. Iowa, they imposed their will. They played a good brand of basketball that matched well with Florida. I mean, I thought Florida had a couple of bad calls not go their way, and there were a few like the coaching decisions that I kind of questioned. But sometimes that's the way it goes. You got to almost be perfect or close to perfect as you can when you get to March Madness, and sometimes that isn't the case. With these Thursday games I see coming up here, Texas and Purdue. We talked a little bit about Texas when we had our guest Daquan on. Texas is playing with house money. They feel like they should not be a Cinderella, even though with them being an 11 seed, the term Cinderella, gets thrown out there. But Sean Miller, the coach for Texas, as I said earlier, he had a quote that I absolutely loved, being a former player. He said, "Look, we're not a damn Cinderella. Like, we're University of Texas. We play in the SEC. You know who we are. So I love that quote from him saying, like, hey, yeah, we're an 11 seed. We kind of snuck into the tournament, being in the first 4 and all that, but we're still the University of Texas. We're not what you call a Cinderella team." A lot of people were complaining, saying that March Madness is lacking the Cinderella aspect. The tournament fell off and all that stuff. I hate when I laugh, but I also hate when I see that, because I'm like, dude, you're just not watching the games.
Exactly.
Flat out. Because if you think that you think that there weren't any good games this weekend, you're just not watching. You're just going with like what's popular and what's going to give me some likes. March Madness. Did
you see the end of? I'm sorry, cut you off. Did you see the end of St. John's in Kansas? That wasn't a good game. I know it wasn't an offensive feast. It was a good game. It was a great game. Like,
it was a great game. They were both teams were building brick houses in the first half. Like, it was terrible, but from an offensive perspective, but it was still a really damn good game. Like two Hall of Fame head coaches going at it. two teams that are playing hard. Darren Peterson, a top 5 pick. That was a great game we watched, so you're just not seeing it. And I saw a stat, just today. This weekend was the highest rating, viewer rating for March Madness since 2011. So all that notion that March Madness is falling off, you're just an idiot if you think that's the case, or you're just not watching. You can just say that you're not watching if that's the case. I'd rather you be honest than say stupid things. But I digress. Going with the rest of these games here, I'm excited for each and every one of them. Like obviously the all Big Ten matchup with Iowa versus Nebraska. Arkansas with Darius Acuff Jr., John Calipari going up against Arizona, who I think is the most complete team. That's going to be a hell of a matchup. Illinois and Houston, two high-powered offenses, guys that can score with the best of them. They're going to be going at it. Kingston Fleming's another guy that, doesn't have as much, pub as like, Darren Peterson, AJ DeBonta and those guys, but he's going to be a top 10 pick as well. So that's a great game as well on Thursday. You want to keep going into the weekend, or do you want to?
Yeah. I'll switch over to Friday. Before we get to Friday, I just want to give some love to Houston. We can talk before we end the show. We can talk about our Final Four picks.
Yeah.
I think your Final Four picks still alive. I think all 4 of mine still alive. Shout out to Houston. They play Illinois and JG. That Sweet 16 game. The game is at the Toyota Center. 1 to 3 miles away from Houston's campus. So that's truly amazing.
That's not fair.
Let's get to the Friday games. You guys see the schedule on your screen again. Number 5 seed out the East, St. John's takes on the number 1 seed Duke Blue Devils. That game is 7:10 on CBS. Number 4 seed Alabama Crimson Tide, the number 1 seed Michigan Wolverines. That game is 7:35 on TBS and True TV. Number 3 seed Michigan State Spartans. Number 2 seed UConn Huskies. That game is at 9:45 on CBS. And the number 6 seed Tennessee Volunteers take on the number 2 seed Iowa State's. What are they? Hawkeyes? No, not Hawkeyes. Iowa State Cyclones. I'm sorry. I can't. Let me do that over. Number 6 seed Tennessee Volunteers and number 2 seed Iowa State Cyclones. I'll start us off with this one. Obviously, you guys know where my attention goes. I'm gonna start off. If you're gonna start off at Gage, you might as well start off at the top. You guys know I picked Duke to win the national championship. The game against St. John comes down to this. Duke cannot turn the ball over in the backcourt like Kansas did. St. John's will lay bricks. You just got to rebound the bricks that they lay and don't turn the ball over. Duke doesn't turn the ball over and they can rebound the ball. I think they'll beat St. John's on Friday night.
Yeah, we had a conversation over the weekend while watching the games. The one thing that I pointed out was that if you're going to win in this tournament, you have to do 3 things. You have to make perimeter shots, you have to defend and rebound, and you have to have depth. Part of the reason that Siena did not knock off Duke is because they had no depth.
Yeah,
the Duke just warmed down with their bench. They were shooting. All of a sudden,
Siena played 5 players.
Yeah, and all of a sudden you started seeing those shots that Siena was making, and they started to come up short because the legs got to them. The guys didn't get any rest, and eventually their legs started to wear down, and that's how Duke, just wore them down and came back in the game because Duke had depth. I want to give credit to one of your guys too, and I hate giving credit to Duke anytime that I can, but I'm going to be objective here and be for the basketball guys. Caden Boozer has been playing really, really good basketball. A lot of people had a lot of questions about Caden Boozer. Can he really step in and fill the shoes of Caleb Foster, being an experienced point guard that he is? They didn't say that Caden Boozer wasn't a good player. They just didn't know if he was ready to actually take over, and really take the reins from Caleb Foster as he recovers from his injury. He's played really good basketball, and he's a big reason why they are where they are today. Big reason why Duke came back and beat Siena. Big reason why they took out TCU the way they would, because he's playing really well. Everyone talks about Cameron Boozer, rightfully so. The guy doesn't have a bad game. He just finds ways to be effective, whether it's offensively, defensively, or just being a playmaker. This guy guys understands how to play basketball. But Caden Boozer has been really good as well. St. John's, I don't think is going to win this game against Duke because, like I told you, like I was worried about, like I talked about last year, St. John's can't shoot. They can't shoot the basketball from the perimeter. They can drive. They can get to the bucket. They play tough. They play tremendous defense, and they get up in you. But if you're not making shots, you will not beat teams like Duke. Now, I saw that they made some threes in the second half against Kansas. That's nice. But are we really going to sit here and believe that they're going to shoot the ball well enough to beat Duke? We believe that? No, I don't believe it. I mean, if you do, you haven't been watching St. John's. I'm sure St. John's fans will probably tell you, yeah, we're a little worried about that. You have to, if you're going to beat Duke, you have to make perimeter shots. You can defend to the cows come home. That's great, but you got to make shots. I don't think St. John's is going to make enough shots from the outside to beat Duke. So I have Duke going to the Elite Eight in this one for sure. Going down the line here, Alabama versus Michigan. Alabama has actually surprised me that they've gotten this far, given what's been going on off the court, losing one of their better players. I did.
Let me just say this. Nate Oates, boy, his teams pick a bad time to start doing crazy stuff. Every time they get to the NCAA tournament, it's always something. Brandon Miller, Nallet, it's always something with Nate Oates teams they get to the tournament. I'm sorry, I digress. And
then it's like right before you get to the end. Like you go through the whole season just chilling, and then boom, some crazy stuff just pop up right before the tournament. Like I don't know what's up with that one.
They like, oh, March Madness about to come. We about to turn up. We about to turn up. Turn up.
Yeah, man. But like Alabama's surprised me. But I think this is the road ends here for them. I think Michigan's just a better team. I think they're bigger and stronger. Yaxel Lindenberg has been great. John Mara has been a force on the inside. Elliot Cadeau, former UNC Tar Heel, he's been very good stabilizing that point guard position. I just think Michigan's going to be better. They will overpower Alabama and move on. Star power moving forward, though, especially with the coaches. Michigan State and UConn. Dan Hurley versus Tom Izzo. I've learned over the years, don't bet against Tom Izzo in March, especially in matchups like these. Even though UConn is favored right now by 2.5 points, I'm going to stay with Michigan State. I'm going to stay biased Big Ten, and I'm going to go by Tom Izzo and Michigan State to come out on this one. Will be a phenomenal game. By
the way, that game, that the St. John's Duke game and Michigan State UConn game, if you're in the DMV area, you have nothing to do on a Friday night, you should be at Capital One Arena. Is that what they call it? Capital One Arena in Washington, D.C. That you will see some great basketball, Sweet 16 action.
I also want to admit, like, if you're not doing anything and you have some money, then you can go because them taking prices is crazy. You gotta have money. That's the most. They didn't lost a damn amount of stuff. They charge more. They charge more money than any Wizards game the entire NBA.
Of course. I mean, Duke better than the Wizards, so yeah, you gotta charge.
We ain't about to start that conversation. We ain't about to start that conversation now, man. All right.
I'm joking. Hey, listen, people, I'm joking. The Wizards would beat the hell out of Duke because people might be like, you really said Duke would beat? No, they would. They're NBA players. They're professionals.
Yeah, we can't start that now.
I'm joking. The Wizards would destroy Duke.
Yeah, but that should be a good game as well. And then the last game, Tennessee and Iowa State. This is an interesting game because Iowa State is missing one of their best players to an ankle injury. He missed the last game.
Joshua Jefferson. Yeah,
Joshua Jefferson. It's not confirmed that he'll be back for this game just yet. It's a huge deal because he's such a big part of their offense. They stepped up really big without him. But I feel like at this stage, with a really good Tennessee team led by Jacoby Gillespie, a former Terp, he has been playing lights out. Nate Ahmed, who's a top 10 talent for sure. Like he's been really good throughout the year. This is a tough Tennessee team, so I think they're going to need Jefferson if they're going to come out on top here. So if Jefferson is playing, I will go with Iowa State. But if he's not, I got to lean more towards Tennessee. So it will be interesting to see like what happens with Jefferson here as the ankle, heals throughout the week.
Again, every matchup in the Sweet 16 is amazing because you get whether you got a coach versus coach matchup or player versus player matchup or team versus team matchup, etc. I'm looking at Tennessee and Iowa State. I've been watching the Big 12. I thought the Big 12 was the best conference. Obviously, your Big 10, I got to give them credit. They're the best conference. I said that earlier in the show. But I think Iowa State if you made me choose between Tennessee and Iowa State, who could beat Michigan, because I think Michigan is going to beat Alabama. I think Iowa State could beat Michigan. Now they do need Joshua Jefferson. If they don't have him, they have no chance because he's a matchup nightmare. He reminds me of Lindenberg for Michigan, Yaxen Lindenberg. He's not as big and as imposing, but he gives you matchup nightmares. He can do those type of things that Lindenberg can do. So. Every matchup in the Sweet 16 is amazing. That Tom Izzo, Danny Hurley, I mean, that's must-see TV. That's popcorn. You just sit and you watch that. So St. John's and Duke, Michigan State and UConn, the winner of those two games play each other in the Elite Eight. Those games will be on Sunday. The winner of Alabama and Michigan, Tennessee and Iowa State, those games will be on Sunday. Ross, you put that schedule up one more time. The Thursday games, the winners will meet on Saturday. The Friday games, the winners will meet on Sunday. JG, when we see each other next week, we will know who will be playing in the national semifinal games and the national semifinals game, aka the Final Four. So it's been a great March, and these young athletes have been putting on the show, and hopefully they can continue to put on the show for us. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you guys for watching episode 76 of the best sports show out. Ladies and gentlemen, for the best co-host, the best guy in the game, my brother, JG. Make sure you guys like, follow, subscribe to Club JG Podcast. My brother got new merch on. You can get phone cases, you can get hoodies, you can get coffee cups, thermos, etc., whatever you need. My brother's doing great things over there. Keep up the great work. Can't wait to see your next interview, man. I know it's a great one. Can't wait for it.
Appreciate you, my guy.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am merely Josh. We will see you guys next week for episode 77. We are out.